Microsoft has nothing to do with Season 5 of the Overwatch League, guys. Not a thing.
So in owl news, wait, not that owl. No, we have actual owl news. There you go. Yes, it'd been so long since we had talked about owl. That's what our team came up with, and we said get an owl logo.
Well, there's nothing to talk about, was there? There was fuck all to talk about. We had a 7-month off season, which is long, by the way, but not as long as the NFL off season, which I keep reminding people who seem to just like, literally, I'm having conversations with people, and they're literally like, Al abandoned us for 7 months, you know, like our interest waned because the off season's been so long. I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird, champ. Obviously, long off season for a few reasons, but the main one being they were waiting for Overwatch 2 to be not only ready to play in the league, but also give the pros some time to fucking acclimate to a new game. So
makes sense.
Yeah, that's what happened. And obviously we have a lot of like Al ex-wives here in chat and on the show, so you know I'm here to balance them out. Anyway. Overwatch League season is set to kick off on May the 5th. So initially, I think that, Hastro leaked April 20th after an owners meeting because he just fucking has no idea how to use social media and can't help himself. That was sort of read as gospel for a while, and we're now looking at like a slight increase on that timing for, I can only assume, a bunch of different reasons. Mike, so let me just make something very clear. So everyone's like, oh, Microsoft this, Microsoft that. Microsoft has nothing to do with Season 5 of the Overwatch League, guys. Not a fucking thing. The acquisition won't even go through until next year. So there is no Microsoft in this equation at all. And I tend to think it'll be, it'll be a benefit to the Overwatch League. But obviously, a few things to point out here. There is a video of which I'm in there. We're kind of parodying elements of the Overwatch community. So like, I'm sort of parodying a great bloke by the name of Yiska. He was one of the journalists that had sort of a false report that sort of leaked
Sources.
That would not even be an Overwatch League this year. Yeah, I love the guy, but it was pretty. I remember at the time it was pretty ridiculous, and I had a crack at him about it. It was a little bit irresponsible to sort of go forward with this unconfirmed report. So I'm parodying him. I took a take of it with me talking in a German accent, and we nixed that because that was a bit on the nose. So in this video, I simply just hammered up very Australian, but it's pretty clear to see who I'm parodying. I do love Yiska. He's a great guy. He's actually one of the reasons why I managed to get into the Overwatch League, because he wrote a really nice article about me. I used it in my visa interview. It was very important. So shout out to him. There was also, Scott Kennedy is acting as like a Reddit mod. Danny Lim is like a chat Pepega in this as well.
Danny was the best.
John Spector is like not John Spector or something like that. Anyway, it's just a platform for us to sort of deliver some announcements about it. So I'll give you the long and short of it. Starts on May 5th. There's going to be 24 matches per team for the season. Every team in the West region is going to play each other twice. Every team in the East is going to play each other once for each tournament cycle. We still have to split East and West because of immigration issues, but I'll get to the but part in a sec. So first match is NYXL versus Gladiators in the Western region, Fusion versus Dragons in the Eastern region. There will be live events. So there are live events being planned. The details still to come. There'll be sort of monthly tournaments, right? We had like, Countdown Cup and sort of Summer Showdown last year. We'll have these sort of blocked out tournaments as we go. Also, there'll be drops returning and all this sort of stuff. And there's play-ins for the postseason. So what people are a little bit like not over the moon about right now is that there's no news about Overwatch 2 yet. So this, and I think what people didn't quite understand is this announcement was very much about the program, the product, right? But no word yet on Overwatch 2 and when that'll be available. A lot of people are like, oh, when will the pro players get access to Overwatch 2? That translates to when will I get access to Overwatch 2? Because fans don't really care that much about the pros getting access. They want to know when they can get access. When the pros get access, they know that they can get access not long after if they clamor enough. So that's where we're at right now. But Scott, also another kind of shocking announcement that just really came out of the blue was that one of the most storied, one of the most famous players of Overwatch history, Jonak, is retiring. The timing of this is pretty odd. Do you know much about this guy, Scott?
I do not, although the name definitely resonates because he's always spoke about, he's like legendary in your game as a player, right? He is like really
he's
good.
He's like I think he has a degree. He approaches. I don't want to say faker, but like teammates of his in the past, right? Like, definitely. One of the best players. He's not a DPS player, so I guess it's hard for him to be considered a quote unquote faker. But the guy really revolutionized how to sort of have impact on a game as a support player. So, yeah.
Yeah, and he tweeted, obviously, team put out announcements. Then he tweeted, in the second half of this announcement, I am planning to take a break. And the second tweet is basically, and he's going to do some streaming. So he's taking some time off from competitive play, but he's going to do a little bit of streaming. I think that was probably to allay his fans that he wasn't necessarily disappearing from view.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I really, I'm not sure. It could be. It's hard to say. It could be physical. A lot of players have overuse issues, especially like a lot of our Korean players tend to suffer a lot with just because their work ethic is quite insane. With like wrist and hand issues. But Jonak hasn't really said yet what the reason for stepping back is. So it's pretty concerning, I think, because he's a huge name in the Overwatch League, and like Seoul acquired him from the NYXL in this huge trade. They got everyone very excited. So hopefully this is only short term, but yeah, who really knows at this stage? It's shit. It's shitty news. It's definitely a shame for sure. And I think to answer Daniel in chat, I think his mandatory service is probably coming up, but he would definitely say that if that was what it was. Like, there's no shame to a South Korean national about having to do mandatory service. They would probably just say it, like Mano, I think, had to. So yeah, high hopes for Jonak to return, but who knows? Hopefully his stream pops off and keeps him sort of close to the game, because yeah, he's really important to the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, maybe again, you hope when he says take a break, it's literally just a break and it's not a real retirement, because it sounds like he's an asset to Overwatch. So hopefully he just takes time he needs. I have a question, and it's not related to him, I don't think. But back to your Overwatch announcement in the sense of your season. I saw the video. Fun way to do a video, by the way. So props to all you guys. Like, you could have just done a very generic, boring PowerPoint slide with Zoe and Matt talking about, here's what we're going to do.
Did what we could, considering we were remote.
Here's the brackets. Here's this. Thanks for watching. So you had some fun with it, at least, and still got the info out there in a slightly different way, and similar to the skitty kind of stuff you all do already. So that was kind of neat. Question I had, though, I saw the 4 tournaments, talked about, and those are obviously LAN events. Is every event played somewhere, or is there online play as well?
Yeah, so good question. I think at this stage, it's much more likely that we are not going to see a reliance on live events like that.
Okay.
So we'll probably see a mix of online and LAN events. Right now, only live events for the West have been announced. That doesn't mean we won't get them in the East, but they have not been announced yet. That hasn't been specified because obviously we're at the tail end of like this COVID situation, but there are still restrictions in immigration that we have to deal with. Good example is like Canada. Like, I was thinking about going to Canada to get my visa sticker redone. They're not accepting any foreign nationals until 2023.
Yep.
So the lasting effects of the pandemic are definitely going to be like a concern. But for these tournament final, it was announced 2 week-long tournaments with $1 million prize pool have been announced in the Overwatch League. So that's huge. We've never had that before. Prize pool, that's like the season prize pool from years gone past. Excuse me. Like a grand final, like you fight for the lion's share of $1 million. So we've announced 2 week-long tournaments, basically majors, if you will, for this. So they are definitely going to be at LAN unless something completely fucks it up. Remember, no one was hit hard in the Overwatch League because we were actually trying to have inter-regional play all the time, every week at his homestands, right? As opposed to having a Europe region, an Asia region, NA region, and then come together twice a year, once for MSI, once for Worlds.
Yeah.
We were trying to do that all the fucking time with regularity, which is very ambitious, obviously. So, yeah, there will be a mix of online games, probably for a lot of the qualifying matches. And then, for the events, it will be live. I think this is just again, I think we're finally starting to shake off some of the Nanza era sort of optimism and sort of money throwing, because, you know, in my opinion, in the long term, this seems like a much more sustainable model for something like the Overwatch League than having a fucking home venue for every team and playing live every week. Like, that is just not, I mean, even in like traditional sports, that only happens regionally, right?
Yeah.
We were trying to do it globally, pretty fucking out there. So we're starting to refine the vision of the Overwatch League, you know, closer also towards what is realistic and makes sense and is sustainable, especially for an ownership group who have a large stake in it. So personally, I'm pretty happy with this. Being able to be around a bunch for my kid and then sort of get to go to the live events and still have that feel and that vibe is really good. So I personally, to be clear, this year, this idea is why I signed on at the start of last year. I knew that last year would be fucking brutal. And if this wasn't happening here in 2022, I would not have re-signed with the Overwatch League. I would have gone and done something else. So this is it. Bluntly, this has to be a bit of a fucking kick-ass year, frankly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, who knows? What, you know, I think Noobage saying in chat because of Microsoft, the league is going to get cancelled. I don't know where you pulled that from. That's just nonsense. But I do think that this model needs to be proved, and I think that, you know, it needs to make sense. So this year has to be good, and if it gets fucked up by COVID, then that's fine. I think anyone's going to blame the model of the league. You know, we'll just have to go again and try something else. So that's my spiel. I'm selling out.
Nicely done.
There you go. But yeah, I'm on a 2-year contract. So I did also announce that I'm coming back to the league. Most people knew that, but like everyone was like, oh, this cast is not coming back. This cast is not coming back. And I'm like, well, just, you know, to sort of, there's a lot of talk around the internet about this on Overwatch, says Noobage. Yeah, I know, but you're literally talking to a guy that's like on the inside. So, you know, there's the masses and their rampant speculation based on nothing at all. And then there's me sort of telling you what I think about this and being pretty honest about what it was that made me decide to stay on. You know, I think it's really important to identify when you have like a valuable source or like a more trustworthy source than like just someone just saying something like, that's dead, game's dead, the fucking league's over, Microsoft is going to kill it. Like, come on, let's be real.
According to Mishka's
you have a valuable
sources,
opportunity
though.
here for me right now. So yeah, anyway, so I'm doing that again this year. Hopefully, yeah, it'll work out.
Well, and I think it does make sense that you'd have to be in some sort of hybrid online LAN mode still, because I think what a lot of people forget in this traveling world that pros have to do, and I notice it a lot in Counter-Strike, because, again, open ecosystem, lots of different tournaments, is it's not just what that tournament organizer does for that event, but it's where you're coming from and where you're going that can affect the 10 days still before you go and the 10 days after. And what I mean by that is, like, they might do something in a country that, where I'm from, has a 10-day quarantine. So when I leave your event and go home, because I went to your event, I have to lock myself at home for 10 days still. But what if I got to go somewhere in 5 days when I get home to another event? I can't. So, so they're working things out. Like, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to go straight from this boot camp. So you guys different. You're not an open ecosystem, but same kind of thing. You don't want to hamper. If your players travel too much, you can actually quarantine, maybe a little less on the quarantine front than it used to be a year ago or so. But countries are still figuring out and changing their rules, right? We're having a big conversation about the Counter-Strike major in Belgium. What are the rules for vaccination in Belgium versus what you should do? So, again, I think it's still safe for all leagues to be a little wary and a little safe and keep it online a little bit. If it makes sense, because you just don't want these players locked up somewhere in quarantines or sick, even worse, sick. So yeah. Yeah, and again, as chat's bringing up, IEM categories, like complexity had to drop out because of COVID. Lots of substitution because of COVID. It's still a problem, right? It's still an ongoing health crisis happening.